So our second speaker is Carlos Hernandez. And Carlos is a transportation planner who hails from our nearby city, Boulder. Today he will help us look at our very own bus rapid transit system in a new light. A little bit edgy here, Max BRT, 50 Shades of Green. So come on up, Carlos. Please help me welcome Carlos.
Hey, thank you very much for having me. The hashtag tonight, for those of you who are on Twitter, is the hashtag FOCOFutures. If you do this, you'll create a digital record of people who are not here tonight who can search and go for it. I don't see anybody playing with their phones, and I thought this was Fort Collins, tech-savvy, innovative. The folks in the back who have the cheapest seats of all, you better be on Twitter or Facebook, because you can't even see me up here, okay? So the hashtag, once again, hashtag FOCOFutures. If you are new to Twitter or old to Twitter, it's a very important way to capture the conversation tonight, which will live on in the future. So my job in the next 11 minutes and 20 seconds is to talk about the Max BRT. Now, your blood pressure right now should be running at about 100 beats per minute, and my job is to get that up. 120, 130, 170 in the front in the suit. I want to get you going. I want you to start thinking, and I'm going to challenge you about some things you never thought about, and that's what 50 Shades of Grey, the movie, did, right? You got your heart rate going and get you going, hence the connection for the slow comers. There are left-brainers and right, so here we go. Left-brainers and right-brainers in the room. If you've read Daniel Pink, you know this, but the left-brainers are analytical, engineers, like to play Minecraft. They think through numbers. They want facts and data, okay? I see you the left-brainers already shaking their head. The right-brainers probably have a green shirt on tonight. They're the artsy-fartsy types, right? They're big thinkers about ideas and world peace, and they don't need all the data and facts. They want to think about the vision. So my sense of presentations after doing this for 15 years is you have to have some for the left-brainers and some for the right-brainers. And it turns out you left-brainers are impatient, so we're going first with you, okay? So here we go, left-brainers. Here's some data and some information, because you can't live and thrive without it. Who's riding transit? All right, so here's who's riding transit. The lower group of people that bid red block are CSU students, okay? The top group, that blue, light blue group, that's everybody else. And in the middle, those middle colors are seniors, disabled, and youth. What is amazing about Transport, the transit system's ridership, is A, look at it grow through the years, 2000 to 2013. That is significant growth. But what's really striking is it's not the people who you think or your neighbors think are riding transit. People who don't ride transit think it's just, well, people who lost their license, or the kids, or the youth, or the seniors who can't get around anymore. Not the case. Obviously, university town, we have CSU students riding, right? No big surprise there. But the hardest group to find, the sacred cow, is a general population. Those with a choice to ride, walk, drive, those are a large part of the transit ridership. So a system that you have right now is not really meeting the traditional demands that we typically see in transit system. Okay, left-brainers, more data for you, right? 2004 to 2014, 84% increase in transit ridership. If this was a private corporation, you would be getting, if this was Lehman Brothers, you'd be getting bonuses left and right for this rate of return on the investments that have been made. 10,000 people a day ride the system. 10,000 people a day. That is impressive numbers. Now, everybody loves Max, so here's some Max information from you, okay? Left-brainers love to see before and after. So the routes that were there before are on the left side, left-brainers, and then on the right side is the increase in ridership, a 94% increase, right? Guys like John Colville, my buddy who's coming up in a minute, work in the private sector, they get significant bonuses for that type of return, right? So that is significant. So wait a minute. Well, of course we should have more transit ridership because we're spending all this money on transit, right? Well, how much? This number right here takes all of what you're spending on transit and divides it by the number of people in your community, right? Left-brainers like this calculation because it's per capita. You are right in the middle of the heat, okay? There's Fort Collins, Athens, Georgia, Portland, Maine, University of Virginia, Charlottesville, University of Vermont, Burlington, Go Big Blue, University of Michigan right there, right? In Champaign, of course, Illinois and Chicago is the most expensive, right? But my point is you're at the middle of the pack. So what do you spend per person? $98 per person to have all of the transit service you have in Fort Collins. If you look at other communities, here's $200 right here, okay? There's San Francisco. They're crazy, right? They spend $1,000 per person. But you are spending about the same amount as Atlanta, Detroit, and Cleveland. Okay? So I believe you have higher aspirations than Atlanta, Detroit, and Cleveland. That's why we're here tonight, people. So my point is that at $98, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. Okay? Well, Carlos, where does that money come from and how do we do this? Who funds this transit service? Well, once again, if you take all the residents and all the costs and you do simple fourth grade math, you get $98 per resident. See that big chunk right there, 55%? That's local money. It means when you go to Whole Foods locally and you pay the bill, a portion of that goes to the general fund, a portion of that eventually comes out and pays the transit system. You also get your money back from the feds. So all that federal tax money a lot of us don't like to pay, well, it comes back to Fort Collins and it funds the transit system. And then there's some local initiatives you passed. Now, I want you to think really hard for a minute before I go to the next slide, okay? And these are left-brainers. It's going to be really hard for them to think outside of this for a minute, but we're going to do it. Think about what you spend $98 a year on, okay? Or less, or more. Here are some typical things you spend $98 a year on or more, right? Coffee, 22 ammunition, right? Very expensive these days. Getting your nails done. Netflix, beer, right? So having the privilege and the right to have a great transit system, which is less than Detroit's spending, every person's spending about $98 a year. There are other expenses you are paying a lot more for. Now, you're at 185 right now, right, left-brainers? Because you have data and you're all excited and ready to go. All right, now the right-brainers, we're just thinking about some other high-level solution, so we're going to turn to the right-brainers now. Remember, the right-brainers are the creative types, the folks that think about pictures and see the change in the progress, right? They see this picture and say, wow, look at those utility boxes behind closed, walled-off areas. I wonder if I could paint those and inspire community for greatness. Those are the right-brainers. So here's some right-brainer information for you. Right-brainers see this, and they see progress. They see how our city talks and markets to the country and to the world. They see aluminum rims. They see LED headlights. They see green sleek graphics. They say this says something about our community. They see the development that's happened next to the MAX, and they say, wow, look at all those bikes that are parked there, and look at all that development that I could live there and walk to different neighborhoods around me, right? And wow, look at that. There's our left-brainers again. There's more bikes than cars parked there. Wow, that must work. That's really interesting. And then they think about quality of life, something that's harder for left-brainers to get their arms around, but the humanity of riding transit when you have a carriage and a baby, and you don't have to have someone help you lift that onto the MAX, and you have humane places to wait, and you also will save lives, right? Because those 10,000 people a day, some of whom are not driving cars, are not out in the flow of traffic. And then when we reduce traffic, we reduce accidents, plain and simple, right? There's also a very humane and a very high-level attention to detail that went into designing maps, right? Places for bikes, cool, rusty now looking, not Detroit rusty, of course, but rusty, good-looking infrastructure that was built. Humane places for different people to move around, that's all there, right? These are the things that the right-brainers see. I rode Max down here tonight. How many people rode Max with me down here tonight? Shame on you. All right. When I got off at Drake, there was a woman carrying a bag, an Ace bag with hedge clippers, okay? Don't tell me that people don't ride transit that shop and they shop at Ace. They do, right? And by divine intervention, I had this Ace photo in here. I didn't doctor it on the way in, right? And so the point is you see how this interaction between what's going along in the corridor is helping transit survive and live. You also, you right-brainers, you great type, you see photos like this and understand that it's not just about transit. It's about creating great places and streets and moving people around in different ways. My favorite part of the MAX route is right here, right at Laurel, okay? You can't get more Republican, Democrat, blue, red, all in one place. You have the Boot Grill, which is very Western ethic, right? And that place is pumping out honky-tonk like you can't believe on Friday night, right next to a picture of bikes and a very democratic way of looking at moving people on buses, right? All happening in this one corner, right? If you couldn't get more Fort Collins than this corner, and that's what the right-brainers know. Okay, I got 3 more for you. So that's what you're doing. Now here's what you're not doing. You set the bar very high, and everybody comes here and sees what you have. You have the Ferrari, you have the Tesla of the transit industry right now, but you cannot rest on your laurels, right? This is Denver that just released this map 3 weeks ago, and they're going to do a regional BRT study. Not a regional rail study, They may be done with building rail and fast tracks. These are the corridors that they're going to look at for bus rapid transit, BRT. You led the way. You broke the glass ceiling. I wonder what the transit analogy is there. We'll work at that at the table. But you broke the ceiling, and now people are pursuing you, right? And so what don't you have that you need? Well, you don't have great places for people around this yet, okay? If you've been to Denver and you've seen Denver Union Station, they created a great place, a remarkable place around it. John's going to talk about this stuff in a minute here. But the remarkable place has indicators, right? So right-brainers, when you see this photo, you see mom and son at Denver Union Station, which used to be not a really great smelling place and not a very thriving place, taking selfies and posting them on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn about how great it is down there at a transit center, right? The transit faded from the background of this place, and what became paramount is the activity and sense of community. You have a great transit investment. You have not made the investments of community around it yet. It's absolutely paramount, and those neighborhoods are a key part of it. The other thing you haven't done is relished in it, okay? People do not want to take their wedding photo. This is photoshopped, by the way. This is College Avenue, okay? But people are not taking their wedding photos on College Avenue yet. They're not taking their photos yet along the Max, right? But that happens in great places. Every time I walk through DUS now, there's a photographer taking engagement photos near DUS. Where is that happening along Max in Fort Collins? Where's that next great place in Midtown where this is going to happen? You've built the Ferrari, or Tesla, depending on what your tone is, and you have to leverage it, okay? Final slide to make you think. The world's moving ahead, folks. I drove here from the Republic of Boulder in my electric car, and I plugged it in, at an XM radio. It was tracking me, and I had my air conditioning on, and I didn't get in an accident, and it was a great ride. I got here, I parked downtown, I plugged my car in, I walked over to the Max, I took the Max down here, I walked 2 blocks after buying my $1 ticket, and I came to this event. I saw a woman on the bus, on the Max, with a bag, carrying her hedge clippers going home. The world is moving ahead. You set the bar high. Don't stop setting the bar. Thank you.